yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. Now earlier I debuted this shawl that I made for the Season of the Granny Challenge that Creative Grandma put forward to me. So this was the result, and I decided upon the name of the Wraparound Granny Ripple Shawl. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it gets the point across because it is a variation of the Wraparound Granny and the ripple stitch because it has sort of a chevron-y kind of thing, ripple wave going on. And it's a lot of fun. It's really, really easy. It's only a 3-row repeat. And I will give you more details as far as the yarn and the hook size and so forth. Now, this is a great piece because the way that it wraps around, it's not going anywhere. Also, if you want, you can add buttons on the front. Also, you could join it, actually, if you're so inclined, you could join it underneath here to create some sleeves. So let's do a twirl, shall we? And of course, you can make it as big or as small as you want to. Very, very versatile, a lot of fun. It's breezy, it's easy, and it's just for you. So let's get to it. All right, so before we get into the actual tutorial, I always get asked, how much yarn do you need? Well, of course, it will vary because everybody has a different gauge. It depends on what hook size you're using, what's your tension like, all that sort of stuff. But this is my personal experience. Now, for this particular project, I used Hirschner's Pastry Puff yarn, and it doesn't have a colorway name on it, but I thought it's nice, it's springy, reminds me of melons for whatever reason, or perhaps a light rose bush or something. I don't know, I just like it. And I had it in my stash. See, that's the part number. So, if you want to look it up and find out the colorway number, the name, go right ahead. As far as the specifications, it is 228 yards. Now, I used about 4 of these, so that is about 912 yards for the particular piece that I used. Now, yes, it is very open, it's very lacy, and it's not really a yarn hog, but the way that it wraps around, there's a lot of extra fabric there, and that's why it's so drapey. That's why there's a lot of yardage. Even though it doesn't come back, that far down the back, that is the case. So you're going to need approximately 900 yards or so for this particular piece. Of course, it depends on if you are more slender, more ample, what have you, Also, for those of you wondering, it is 70% acrylic and 30% wool, but that is what I used for this particular piece. Also, I used, because I wanted it to be very flowy, I used a J 6mm sized hook for this particular piece. So that is the gist. So without further ado, now let's get started. Alrighty, so for this tutorial, actually I'm using a little bit of Red Heart Ombre. I'm using the same sized hook, the 6mm hook, and we are going to start off with our base chain. So it's just a matter of doing a simple slip knot and our base chain, which is going to be a total of 55 chains plus an additional 2. So I'm just going to do a couple of chains here because I like to be thorough. So I got a bunch, but you're going to need a total of 57 chains in order to get the neckline started. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then when you've got your 57 chains, come back and we shall continue. All right, so first things first with row 1, we are going to do double crochets. Now into the 3rd chain from the hook, we are going to be doing our double crochets. Now you do have, of course, some options with this. You could go into the top loop. Me, however, because this is the neckline, I prefer to go in through the back bump, this little doodad right down here. And I'm going to be doing 55 double crochets into the back bump. That first chaining up of 2 does not count, because we're just going to the top of here later. So it's going to be a total of 55 double crochets, and because it can be a little bit fiddly to go in through the back bump, it's going to take me a bit longer, so I'm going to do most of this off camera so as to not draw out the process. Now, the reason why I like to go underneath the back bump is because it creates a nice smooth edge to the top edge of the neckline. That's why I like to do this for this particular kind of project. So, but either way, it's fine, but I just wanted to let you know what it was that I did. So, after doing a total of 55 double crochets, then we can get started into the actual pattern. I know it's a lot of prep work, but it is so worth it in the end. So, after you have your 55 double crochets, come right back and we'll continue. Row 2. All right, so after doing your 55 double crochets for the collar, now you don't have to, however, I think that it creates, a nicer edge to it. As opposed to your clusters going into a chain, it'll stretch it out. This works better, I have found. So that's my reasoning for doing this preliminary step here. So for row 2, we're going to start by chaining up 3, 1 and 2 and 3, and then turn the work. Okay, now we've got the clusters going on here. So into this first stitch here, we have a lot of stitches to go. So we've got this chain 3, which counts as 1 double crochet into the same stitch, 2 more double crochets for our first cluster. Now this is going to be an end cluster. Now this really is, I would say, going to be a somewhat decorative edge, which I kind of like. So after you do your first cluster, chain 2, and then into the same stitch, do 3 more double crochets. And this will create a nice decorative edge for the front. There we go, and I got a little thing stuck in my yarn. All right, so we've got 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles into that first stitch. Now let's proceed along by chaining 1, then skipping 2 double crochets, going into that third with 3 doubles. Chain 1, skip 2 doubles into the third, 3 doubles. Alrighty, then chain 1, skip 2 double crochets into the third, we are doing another double cluster. So into that stitch, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. Now this is going to create one of the points in our shawl. So chain 2, and then into the same stitch, 3 doubles. So this is how it should look thus far. So you've got your double cluster, a single cluster, single, and then another double. And this is actually how we're going to proceed for the rest of this second row. So let's do this again, shall we? Okay, so chain 1, skip 2 doubles into the third, 3 doubles. Chain 1, skip 2 doubles into the third, 3 doubles. chain 1, skip 2 doubles into the third, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. Now, what you could also conceivably do is you could leave out the chain 1 in between your clusters and do, say, maybe just a chain 1 in between your doubles here, your double clusters. Whichever, if you want it to be more of a tight and cohesive piece, you could quite conceivably do that. This is just what I did for this particular piece. So that being said, we have our edge here. We have another point, we have another point, and we have a couple more to go. Also, in addition, there is something else that you could do. If you don't want to have quite so many of these points, you could always do the math and you could subtract a couple of them. Personally, I think you should have an odd number of points. That way you have in the back, centered, you have a point. So I would say, go with either 7 or 5 or even 3. You are going to have to do the math and figure out, again, how many starting chains you would need, how many clusters you would need, etc., etc. But I'm just sort of putting the idea out there that this is customizable. It's the same principle, just with a different base number of double crochets for your collar. So I'm going to do the rest of these little guys off camera, but I'll meet back up with you at the end. Alrighty. Alrighty, so I'm almost done with row 2, but of course I like to touch base, so I just need to do another double cluster because I did one here, then I did 2 singles, now I need another double cluster, so skipping 2 doubles, and then going into that third with 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. Yeah, man. There we go. And then chain 1, skip 2 doubles, going into the next double with 3 doubles. Chain 1, skip 2 doubles, going into the third with 3 doubles. And this really, it's one of those kinds of patterns where once you get into it, you can totally go into sort of a meditative Zen zone, as I always like to think of it. It's very much an autopilot kind of project. All right, so I did my double cluster, 2 single clusters, chain 1, and then into, again, this double crochet, not the chain 2 at the end here, but into this double crochet, because you're skipping 2, going to that third, we need another double cluster at the very end. So that's 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. Alrighty. I really don't think I needed to do this, but I wanted to do this. I like to touch base with you and make sure that you get it entirely. Okay, so at this point, well, speaking of points, so we should have a total of 7 of these points, these double clusters, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The endpoints, they do count. All right, so that being said, your piece should look something like this. I'll just back out a little here. And that creates a nice little collar. Now, what I was saying before about an odd number, see this point right up here is going to go down the center of your back, and in between this point and this point is where your arm would be. Likewise on here, because we're not part of the Addams family, this is where our arms go. And, that is how it should look. All right, so that is the end of row 2. Let's carry on. Alrighty, row 3. Row 3 is actually, in a sense, it is a decrease row. Now, we're not actually decreasing, we're skipping, and I'll show you what I mean in just a bit. So to begin with, and this is how we're going to begin every row from here on in, going to start out by chaining up 3, 1, 2, and 3, turn the work. Now, to create our decorative edge, we're going to go from here into this chain 3 space. Now, also, there is a variation. What you could conceivably do, which I'm going to show you real quick, if you don't want the loops at the edge, what you could do is you could turn your work right now. Actually, chaining up 1 would be easier. And slip stitch into these 3 double crochets. Just slip stitch and then slip stitch into the chain 2 space. That way there won't be a loop at the edge. And then from here, chain up 3 and then 2 more doubles and do your double cluster. This is one way of doing it, but this is not how I personally opted to do it because I wanted the little loopy thing there. So that being said, I'm going to show you how I am actually going to do it. But I like to give you options. I can't help it. I can't help myself. I like to give options because it makes the process a bit more fun if you can further design what has been designed and make it your own, really. So going to chain up 3 and turning the work, and then into the chain 2 space, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. So either way is fine, really. It's just a matter of personal preference and taste. Mine is sometimes questionable, but what can you do? All right, a little bit of a tangle, sorry. All right, so chain 2, and then 3 more doubles for our double cluster at the end here. Okay, now, there we are. So it's just going to keep going out like this. Okay, so now, what I meant by we need to do a decrease is we're going to be skipping that space in the middle. We've got 3 spaces. Well, that middle one we are going to skip, but we have to do this one first. So going to chain 1 and then into the first chain 1 space, 3 doubles. Alrighty, chain 1. And then, yes, we are going to just skip right over that space and go into the next space. And this is what creates the dip, the valley, the chevron type effect. So going from here directly into this, not this space, but the next space, yes, with 3 doubles. And yes, it does look a bit bunchy and a little bit wonky, but it really does work itself out as you keep going. So do my 3 doubles here. Chain 1, and we have another double cluster. These are worked normally, so into the chain 2 space, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. Chain 2, 3 doubles. Chain 1, 3 doubles into the next space. chain 1, and for some reason my yarn wants to knot up on me today. I don't know why. It's being pernicious. Okay, so as you can see over here, we have our double cluster, single cluster, skipped space, single cluster, double cluster, single cluster. Well, we need to do another skip space. So skipping this next space, going into the next one with 3 doubles. And then chain 1, double cluster into the double cluster, so that's 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. There we go. Chain 1, cluster into the next chain 1 space. So that's 3 doubles. Chain 1, and then of course we now skip this one, and then we're going to go into that next one with another cluster. Come on. Chain 1. And then, of course, it's going to be another double cluster right here. So that is, of course, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. Okay, so for the rest of this row, you're going to be doing the same exact thing. I did my double here. We need a single cluster here, skipping over this space, single cluster, double cluster, single cluster, skip it, single cluster, double cluster, single cluster, skip it, single cluster, and double cluster. Okay, so I will meet back up with you for row 4. All right, row 4. Now, at the end of row 3, your piece should look something like this, I hope. Got that pretty decorative edge going on there. And so, yeah, so that is how your piece should look at the end of row 3. Now, for row 4, where did my hook go? Ah, found it. Okay. Was sitting on it. All right, so for row 4 and row 5 are so easy. It's mind-numbing. I love it. All right, so I'm going to start by chaining up 3, 1 and 2 and 3, or do your slip stitch trick, whichever works best for what you want to do. And so after chaining up 3 into the chain 2 space, we need a double cluster, so that's 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, 3 doubles, chain 2, and 3 doubles. Yeah, rows 4 and 5, oh, they are so easy. It hurts. It hurts, but I love it. All right, so I've got my 3 doubles here. Very cool. So yeah, at the edge here, it creates a really pretty decorative edge with these little loops on the sides here. I like it. I think it's nice. You know, that's just me personally. It might not be for everybody, but I kind of like it, so I'm going with it. So from here, chain 1, and then into every chain 1 space, just do a regular triple bunch of double crochets. So it's just chain 1, 3 doubles, chain 1, and then even into here, where we did our skip down below, into this chain 1 space, 3 doubles. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Chain 1, And then into the next chain 1 space, 3 doubles. And then chain 1, and then into every one of these double clusters, just do another double cluster. So 3 doubles, chain 2, and 3 doubles. Easy as that. Chain 1, 3 doubles into that chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 doubles into the next chain 1 space, get my tail out of the way there, chain 1, 3 doubles into the next space, chain 1, and then of course, since we reached another of our double clusters, well, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. Easy as that. All right, so for the rest of row 4, quite simply, just, chain 1 in between your clusters. So it'd be chain 1, cluster, chain 1, cluster, chain 1, cluster, chain 1, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, because double in a double. Then, well, double cluster within a double cluster. You know what I mean. Chain 1, cluster, chain 1, cluster, chain 1, cluster, chain 1, double cluster. So that's 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, chain 1, cluster, chain 1, cluster, chain 1, cluster, and so on and so forth until you reach the very end, where into this chain space here, this 2 chain space, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, and then we will go on to row 5. Alrighty. Alrighty, row 5 really is a repeat of row 4. So, but I'm going to show you anyway. So start by chaining up 3, 1 and 2 and 3, and then turn your work like so. All right, then into the first chain 2 space, we need a double because, well, it's a double. So 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, just as we have been doing. 3 doubles, chain 2, and 3 doubles. I messed it up. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, our decorative edge is coming along nicely. It's so pretty. I like it. It's clean, yet decorative. Okay, so then from here, chain 1, and then into every chain 1 space, just a regular cluster of 3 double crochets separated by a chain 1 space. 3 doubles, chain 1, 3 doubles, chain 1, 3 doubles, and actually I was really quite delighted to be able to, try to make a variation using the granny stitch for the Season of the Granny Challenge, because this is really one of my favorite go-to stitches because it's easy, it's quick, and because you're stitching into spaces as opposed to into stitches, it's so much easier, don't you think? So chain 1, and then every time you reach one of your points, just do your double cluster again. So that's 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. And also, I really must thank all of you that did comment on the Season of the Granny Challenge video that I did. You guys are sweet. You guys are really sweet, and I really appreciate all the support very, very much. So did a double into the double. So again, chain 1, and then do 3 doubles into every chain 1 space until, of course, you reach your next double cluster. So it's really, 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 really that easy. So just continue on in the same fashion for the remainder of row 5. Just do 3 doubles into each chain 1 space separated by a chain 1, and then every time you hit one of your points with a double cluster, just remember 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, and then just mosey your way all the way to the end, which is here, and then into this last chain 2 space, 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, and then that is the end of row 5. Okay, I'll meet back up with you. Alrighty, so we're back to row 3 because we did a full repeat, believe it or not. It's rows 3, 4, and 5. 3 is the decrease row, if you will, where you sort of squinch things together. Then 4 and 5, well, you're just doing a cluster in each chain 1 space. So, or double in a double. So again, for row 3, we're going to be doing some squinching. All right, so I'm going to start by chaining up 3, turning the work, and then again, it's a double cluster into the double cluster. So 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. So I got 3 doubles, chain 2, and then 3 doubles. Just got to pull out a little bit more yarn here. And it's very, very easy to identify where you need to do your decreasing. Very, very easy. All right, so chain 1, 3 doubles into the next chain space, just as we have been doing. No problem there. Like I said, it's a great pattern for going on autopilot. Because you really don't even need to keep track of what row you're on. Just, look at your fabric. All right, so as you can see, we're already there. Now, down here, this is where we skipped over that space right down in here. And we did 2 rows here and here. So that means that we have to skip over this space. Now, let me show you a little bit closer here. Okay, so this is the skip space. Well, we need to skip this space directly above it. We did this row, and then we did this row, because this was the skip space row right in here. Then we did 2 rows, rows 4 and 5. Well, we need to skip this space because this is row 3, so it is a skip squinching row. So we're just going to skip this space right here. And that is how you determine where you continue your skipping. All right, so we're going to skip this one. So we're going to go directly into this space over here with our next cluster. And yes, I know it looks a little bit squinched, but when you work out your fabric further, it does work itself out. So there you go. So that is the 3-row repeat. Believe it or not, folks, it's that easy. So I'm going to continue on. Chain 1, 3 doubles into the next space, chain 1, double into the double, so that's 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles, there we go. Pull out some more yarn, of course. Okay, and then chain 1, cluster into the chain 1 space, all right, now over here, see, this is where we have our skip space. So it's this space that we need to skip, so I need to do a cluster into here. So chain 1, do another cluster, chain 1. All right, so skipping this space right here, going into this space over here with another cluster. Chain 1, cluster into the next space, chain 1, double cluster into the next space, chain 1, cluster into the next space, chain 1, one more cluster, there we go, chain 1, and then this is the space here that we need to skip because we have our big openness right there. So again, skipping that middle space. Now you could also put stitch markers, the ones that open and close, or safety pins, or little bits of scraps of yarn, tucked in there as a reminder, whatever works best for you so that you can do this without making any mistakes or anything like that. Whatever works. That's what I always say. Because sometimes when you're going on autopilot, it's easy to forget where you're going. I know it happens to me too. All right, so then you just keep going in the same fashion for the rest of the repeat of row 3, and then you repeat rows 4 and 5 where you're just doing double clusters in each point, single cluster, single cluster, single cluster, right over here, single cluster, double cluster, and then at the beginning and ending of every row, just keep adding a double cluster into each double cluster and then chaining up 3 and sort of swooping your way to the next one. It's really that easy. Okay. So there you have it. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I had a lot of fun retweaking, previous things to make this new thing. And that is, for me, that is a large part of what crochet is. It's about reconfiguring pre-existing information into something new and somewhat unique and fun, and I like it. It's like I said, it's lacy, it's drapey, it's breezy and easy, and I hope you like it. So, and if you did, and if you liked the tutorial, please give a little thumbs up button down below because I appreciate your appreciation as always. Yes, I do. And also, please hit subscribe because I do try to post often, whether it's crocheting or knitting or audiobook narrations, or of course, my other YouTube channel, Fiber Spider Games, where I do a lot of video game playthrough and commentary. It's a lot of fun. Would love to see you there too. And I've got lots and lots of videos up on there. I post daily, actually. And yeah, so listen, until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay stitching, stay caffeinated, and above all, please stay healthy, stay safe, and especially these days right now with everything that's going on. So be good to yourself and each other. Bye for now.